Arsenal may have won their game against Leicester City, but their manager, Mikel Arteta, will be fuming at his players given the manner in which that game partly transpired. Anyways, welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert K. Sarkos is your usual suspect. Welcome back from that, weekend action. Very, very brilliant games we've been treated to in the Premier League, in the German Bundesliga, in the Spanish La Liga. For those of you that follow events from across the board, beyond just the teams that you may align yourselves to. But anyway, Mikel Arteta will be fuming at his players given the manner in which they almost dropped points in today's fixture. Yes, they eventually won it by 4-2, but he will be fuming at his team's complacency, especially in the first 15 or 20 minutes of the second half in there. I thought Arsenal came back having dominated the first half in every aspect that you could imagine that a game can be dominated. They did come back in the second half looking quite very complacent. That midfield was literally left with a gaping hole that Leicester were just running through like a hot knife running through butter, and eventually they managed to capitalize on those vulnerabilities. Thomas Partey was literally absent. Declan Rice nowhere to be seen during that segment of the game, and eventually Leicester City get back into the game. Now, of course, in the first stanza, like I said, Arsenal dominated the affairs. Literally, Leicester were happy to sit back and try and defend. Perhaps they had hoped that they could sit back, try and win the ball at the edge of their box, and then play one of those long balls or go on a counter-attack through their, old star in 𝐵𝐺𝐵 Vardy, but it just didn't pay off. Arsenal kept them inside their half for the largest part of the first stanza, and indeed Arsenal dominated every aspect of the game in terms of possession, in terms of shots on goal, in terms of set pieces, that's resultant free corner kicks and all those kinds of things. They were just on top of Leicester City. It was as if Arsenal were sending a message to their critics in the aftermath of their 2-2 draw against Manchester City, where in the second half they chose to sit back and try and defend their 2-1 lead, which eventually they lost thanks to John Stones. So when Leicester sat back, Arsenal played that ball like it was a training session, literally. They were trying to open Leicester City. But then again, you could feel that something was lacking. That final pass, that intricacy, that quickness that usually their captain in Martin Odegaard offers them, that quick pass, that, difference, take away one or two players and then find that final splitting pass. They sort of lacked that pass for a good a spell of the game, but eventually they did find the breakthrough when Jurrien Timber made that literally cut back in the 18-yard box, and then Gabriel Martinelli lashed onto it to open his account for the new Premier League season. A beautiful strike that opened the lead for the Gunners, and then not long after, he was again at it when he provided the assist for Leandro Trossard to score to make it 2-0 going into halftime. So Arsenal were in full control of their affairs going into halftime. And then when they came back, somehow they were literally a shadow of the Arsenal that we had watched in the first half. My hope had been that they were going to come back, again dominate the affairs, try and get that third and fourth goal, and then once they had those goals, maybe then Mikel Arteta would go ahead to give chance to some of the youngsters that we did watch in the Carabao Cup as they beat up against Bolton Wanderers by 5-1. The likes of Ethan Nwaneri, Lewis Kelly, and all the others that were on that bench for the Gunners. But that wasn't the case. When we come into the second half, somehow, I think it was William Saliba that commits a foul, and then Leicester do have a free kick. Never mind that the referee in this gave away a very cheap yellow card, and in the next subsequent couple of minutes gave away 2 other cheap yellow cards. So one, I think, being to, was it Carafiori? I don't recall particularly well. But so they concede the set piece. That ball is floated in, and then James Justin heads it, and it takes a slight deflection off the tip of Kai Havertz's shoulder, and then it catches David Raya in goal the wrong way, and it hits at the back of the net. So the game is 2-1, and one would think that now is not the time for Arsenal to panic. But because that goal came very early into the second half, it gave Leicester City hope that they could actually have a go at this. And that is what really happened. They went for it. While Arsenal seemed to be scrambling for composure in that period of the game, because while they tried to go on the offense, things weren't clicking. The midfield, like I said, was literally left open. In some instances, you wondered, where is Declan Rice, where is Thomas Partey to try and put some bit of wall in this midfield for Jamie Vardy not to just run through it. Then Leicester City had also discovered that maybe when you play that long ball, you could give Jamie Vardy a chance to run past William Saliba and maybe Gabriel Magalhaes in an instant. So in that segment of the game, Leicester were having a go at it, and Arsenal were scrambling for composure. No wonder it didn't take long before Wilfred Ndidi provided the assist for James Justin to score what was a stunning goal to restore parity for Leicester City. And when you watch that very moment before Wilfred Ndidi crosses that ball, you look at Thomas Partey, and he's not committed enough to try and close down Wilfred Ndidi to stop him from floating in that cross. Of course, Timber is yards away, and again, like I said, Arsenal were struggling for composure in that moment of the game. So, and it was bang. Game is now 2-2. And given the way Leicester had played, I think about the first 20 or 30 minutes of the game, they had managed to suffocate Arsenal, despite Arsenal having the majority of the ball. So now they had the game restored to parity, they were again happy to retreat back and try and defend that, and maybe look for a moment to go ahead and find the third goal. So that is what they looked to do. Arsenal tried everything, every trick in their armor, and it wasn't working. Why? Because sometimes, again, you felt that final pass to maybe to a Bukayo Saka, to a Leandro Trossard, to a Martinelli in the space was just a couple of seconds, if not microseconds, slightly delayed, that it gave Leicester City the ample time to regroup. Never mind that for me in this particular game, my man of the match was Mads Hermansen. That goalkeeper of Leicester City did everything there was for a goalkeeper that he could do. I think he made about 13 saves in this particular game. It was specifically a reminder of the game that we saw when Manchester United were beating Arsenal at the Emirates Stadium by 3-1 back on 2nd December 2017. For those of you that do remember that game, David De Gea was immaculate in that Manchester United goal. Alexis Sanchez did try everything. He took, I think, every kind of shot to David De Gea. Headers were coming in, and he literally had glue in his gloves. He was saving every shot, every attempt on that goal. Ended up conceding just one. That was a game that for which Manchester United ended with a manless, because Paul Pogba received the red card in that particular game. But be that as of it may, that the red card came in the 74th minute or so, around that period. Still, Arsenal could not find the way to at least, restore a parity and, save a point in that particular game. It looked like maybe beyond the goals they scored, Louis van Gaal had spent his entire week coaching David De Gea on how to save shots. So he made about 13 saves in that particular game. That is what we experienced from Mads Hermansen today when Arsenal were beating up against Leicester City by 4-2. So eventually, Arsenal could not find the breakthrough. Every trick they had in their armor in terms of set pieces was failing, was not paying off. Gabriel Magalhaes tried his level best, but Mads Hermansen was just saving every bit of attempt there. And then until stoppage time. So it was 7 minutes added in, of course, to the fury of Steve Cooper, the Leicester City manager. He was wondering where all that time came from, but I mean, it was time for both teams to play the game. So by that time, of course, Arsenal had introduced some of their substitutions, including Ethan Nwaneri, who scored a burst against Bolton in midweek. Very, very impressive. I remember his first chance at play. It was a very wonderful strike or attempt at the goal there, and Mads Hermansen, of course, saved that one as well. But very, very confident strike he took there. He had great composure. He looked to play with a lot of confidence, as if to say, I mean, I played at this level before. He sort of reminded you that this is the new Martin Odegaard that Arsenal have. He's in that sort of picture for a youngster of his age, but of course, he was doing things that you do not expect of a youngster. No wonder Mikel Arteta even trusted him to bring him on the pitch, even when they were not in a winning position, because they wanted to find that final goal. So, until stoppage time, of course, Bukayo Saka floats in another set piece, which is a corner kick. It goes past all the defense of Leicester City and any, lacking headers for the Gunners, and lands on Leandro Trossard, who taps that ball towards the goal, and it is deflected by Wilfred Ndidi, and then it hits into the back of the net. You would have seen Leicester in that moment. Very appalled that they conceded that late. Now, given the way the game had transpired, they tried to make some changes, of course, for themselves, including the bringing on, I think, Jordan Ayew to try and, salvage a point from this particular game. But then that left themselves open, and then eventually that's how Kai Havertz managed to get a goal on the day. Of course, Leicester City defender was trying to clear that ball, and it just didn't work out. The ball is smashed onto Kai Havertz, who was in an offside position, but because it's a ball played by the opponent that, deflects on somewhere on his thighs or knees and hits the back of the net, it finished 4-2. So the result does not tell the full story. Of course, Arsenal dominated the game. I think up to about 75% of ball possession and all that. Had more, I think about 16 shots on target, 9 shots off target. So they did everything right. But given Mads Hermansen's performance, you thought that maybe Leicester deserved a point in this game. But also when you look at Arsenal's performance, you thought they deserved all 3 points. So Mikel Arteta will be furious at his players, first of all, of how they played at some occasions in midfield, but also because they conceded another 2 goals. Now, this is the second time in a row that Arsenal are conceding 2 goals. We all know Arsenal that do have a very solid defensive side. Their defensive solidity is right up there. William Saliba and Gabriel Magalhaes, one of the best partnerships, if not the best currently in the Premier League that there is. Ricardo Carafiori, he was doing very well inverting into that midfield, but then in some moments he left his space uncovered. And then Jurriën Timber was, of course, sensational on the day still, provided 1 assist in this particular game. But I think Mikel Arteta will be furious that for the second game in a row, they are conceding 2 goals, and maybe on another day that would have cost them 2 points or even a whole 3 points. So, yes, he's happy that they have the win, but when he goes back to review the entire game, he will be happy with some moments, he will be angered by some moments, and he will be furious at his players, especially considering that they are playing PSG next in the UEFA Champions League. Anyway, do let me know what your thoughts are, as Arsenal narrowly escaped with all the 3 points at the Emirates Stadium against Leicester City, a game that we had predicted that they would win by 3 goals to 1, by the way, in our predictions during the Premier League preview for match day 6. So that was the action from the Emirates Stadium. But we cannot close the chapter on Arsenal without looking at the scope of things in the Premier League. Earlier on in the day, of course, Manchester City had been humbled. Braut Haaland had been humbled by Newcastle, denied to score a single goal in that particular one. He was a shadow of the Braut Haaland we've seen so far in this Premier League season. Newcastle managed to suffocate him as they held Manchester City to a 1-1 draw. Of course, Manchester City did find the opening goal through 𝐂𝐎𝐏𝐿. The very, very brilliant strike, by the way, that he does score there. He gets the better, I think, of Fabian Schär there in defense, and, he scores past Nick Pope. And then on the other side, Joelinton forced Ederson Moraes into a save in that first half, and it finished 1-0. In the second stanza, of course, Newcastle continued to push, and Anthony Gordon found his moment, but he was fouled by Ederson in goal, which led to a penalty. So he stepped up for the resultant penalty and put it away. Scored a very, very brilliant penalty to restore parity for the Magpies. And then, Of course, Newcastle continued to push, but they couldn't find, the goal that splits the match into winning position. And then, of course, you had a moment, I think, in added time when Bernardo Silva also forced Nick Pope into a save there, and literally Manchester City had almost snatched away that, the 3 points, but Nick Pope was up to the challenge to save that particular attempt, and it finished 1-1 at St. James's Park. So, anyways, we'll find time to review all that action, because the day did conclude with a 2-1 victory for Liverpool at the Molineux Stadium as they beat up against Wolves, a result that takes them to the top of the Premier League table as Manchester City drift to second place, while Arsenal move further down to third place with 14 points respectively, while Liverpool are now at 15 points. Do let me know what your thoughts are on those particular results. We have a full matter to discuss when it comes to all things Chelsea. They are firing on all cylinders, and it's beautiful to watch. Thank you, and stay blessed. I'll see you next time.